And here is our '04 style GTO pin-on hood. Have to excuse the mess on the floor. We've been working, knocking out these parts. We don't have time to clean up. We've got parts to make. Again, this is the correct way to store this part. Down on its side like this, leaning up against the wall, or like this, leaning up against this bench. One thing you don't want to do is like the trunk lid. You don't want to set it down where these corners are going to get bent. Or the hood is bowed like this. You don't want to lay it flat like on this table to where the center of the hood would be higher than these edges, because eventually it'll want to start to relax and that bow will come out of it. Again, it's not catastrophic, but why cause damage when you don't have to? And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter whose composites you're talking about, they'll all do it. Most of the time when you see or hear about fiberglass and, oh, it doesn't fit and there's all these problems, it's because something's happened to it after it come out of the mold, either by the manufacturer or by the end consumer. So don't stand this hood up, which would be the front, bring that up and around to where these corners are on the ground. Don't do it that way. It will start to deflect those corners. Again, if you just pull it off and it's only going to be a couple hours or something sitting that way, it's not going to hurt it. The effects I'm talking about take several days to happen. So don't be concerned that if you set it down, oh, it's going to get damaged. It takes a while. And again, this hood has a radius on it where the trim line is. You see right there, there's a little bit of bow in it. And I actually didn't even see that until I magnified it with the camera here. But if you were to put this hood on your car and the gap right here was just a little tight, you could say that's it right there. It needs to be, just a little bit right here needs to be sanded off. And what we're talking about right there probably isn't more than 4 or 5 sheets of paper. Said without the camera, I didn't even see that was there. And you probably would never see it once it's bolted on the car either. Again, it's a pin-on hood. You notice all of our parts have this cream-colored material on it. It's core mat. It adds a significant amount of strength and very little weight difference. So we use it, instead of having extra layers of fiberglass, we use this core in it. The stuff's expensive, but it works. And the parts end up lighter when it's over. So you notice this hood here has strips down the side. This is how we would do it if you're going to run a pro stock, pro mod looking style hood scoop forward facing, like on a nitrous combination. Or in this case, this car is a blown alcohol car, and the blower is going to be coming through the hood here. So there's no reason for us to put that core in that area. So we went around it, so when you trim it out, it leaves a nice edge and the core is not exposed. Which again, the core being exposed, if we had cored the whole hood and you cut it, it's not catastrophic. It's not that big of a deal. It just does do a nicer job if the core was in the right spot initially, to where you don't have to trim into it. But again, it doesn't hurt anything. Just does a nicer job, which is what we're trying to do. And again, our hoods are made shiny like all of our other composites, so you can look them over and see what you got. If there was an area that needed some work, you'd be able to see it. It's not hidden in dull primer, all sanded and dull looking. We've had parts come in from other manufacturers where we had to wipe them down with wax and grease remover, trying to get them shiny enough to see how messed up they were. And usually they are. You get parts, if they're not shiny, there's probably a reason. Again, we want you to see how good our stuff looks, is why we do it. Also on the hoods, there is a spot in the mold right about here somewhere. It's a little dull spot. It's just a dull spot in the mold. The mold needed a repair, and it's just a mark that shows up. It's not wavy or has issues. It's just a dull spot. People have asked me, hey, there's a dull spot. What do I need to do? Just sand it and paint it. I think this hood here, we actually took a little bit of compound by hand and polished it off. I don't see it. There's a little mark right there. It looks like there's some compound wiped on it still. And this is probably the hood we did that to. If I have time, I do it just so I don't have to hear people say, what is that mark? And I have to explain it. It's easier to take a little compound, wipe it off, polish it up than it is to explain it. But anyway, if you get a hood and it's got a mark in it, a little circle, a little dull spot, it's just a dull spot in the mold. The mold ultimately dictates the shine on the parts. If the mold is shiny, the parts are shiny. If the mold has a scratch, or if the mold has a dull spot or a fingerprint in it, it'll show up on those parts. So this is why when I say some of these parts have these minor details, like that dull spot that would be in this one, or the little scratches that are in that door, that's why that stuff's in the mold. Some of that stuff isn't easily removed in the mold to where the parts come out without it. And again, those minor imperfections are nothing. This basic gel coat is just a primer type of thing. It's very strong, very durable. It helps keeping the print from occurring. And the print is the fibers, the glass fibers showing up like this. These are the glass fibers. And when parts aren't done right, that print will show in these parts. We use a special material in these parts that prevents that. 99% of the time, you'll never ever see any print in our parts. Again, that stuff is expensive and takes more time, but it does a first-class job, and that's what we try to do here. Again, you get what you pay for. This hood, I believe, is 10 pounds in fiberglass. Most of the parts we make are available in carbon fiber, but you call and ask us about it, we can go over that with you.